Welcome to another Buddy Booze Banter Unfiltered Conversations. I'm Rick.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Alex.
How we all doing today?
Amazing.
A new setup, isn't it? I'm in the center now. I get center of attention.
Well, you know, there's always a first time for everything.
All right, come on.
We are actually recording today on April Fool's Day. So we're not fooling you here, but I hope everybody had a great Easter as well. So, and I know
but
that
it might be a trick to have Rick just disappear.
Well, if that's what
that would be a great.
If you want me to disappear, I can. That's easy enough. That's easy enough. You know, and of course we had Easter yesterday, but we also had a lot of controversy yesterday, specifically from the Republicans, who was upset that the Transvisibility Day was yesterday as well, and Biden obviously acknowledged that. Which, of course, Easter falls on many different days throughout the entire history of it, but Transvisibility Day always falls on the 31st of March. So, you know, they always have to find something to knock them on. So,
Transvisibility Day?
It's basically acknowledging individuals who are trans and you know, they're humans. You know?
Yeah,
and that's all that's all Biden was doing, was acknowledging them. And, you know, Trump and all his little MAGA cult members came out and said, I can't believe he did, you know, recognize and made it official. It's like, well, no, it was already official, and it's not really a national holiday. It's just something they recognize. Like everything else, you know, National Cucumber Day, National, you know.
You mean they can't recognize that and do an Easter egg hunt on the grounds of the White House?
Apparently, these extremist Christians cannot. So,
okay,
you know, but that's another thing. But anyhow, this is going to be kind of an interesting one because I know Mike wants to talk about a little bit March Madness and some other sports things. But my first one I want to talk about is the Beyoncé album drop that we had last Friday. I've actually played through the entire album, and I've got my take on it, as well as some of the additional takes on there. I want to kind of like talk about kind of the premise behind it, and really what's driving the force behind it, and some of the controversy as well.
Is the force with her?
I really do. She's getting critical acclaim on this one, to be honest.
Okay.
With you. So I'm actually impressive. So I know that you dropped two different types of singles back on the Grammys night, and one was Texas Hold'em, which Alex has just kicked in for us.
All right, Alex.
All right. Yeehaw! Yeah, I did my job. I'm doing it. I'm doing my job.
The interesting thing about this particular single is she was the first black woman with a number one single on the Hot Country Songs charts with the Texas Hold'em, as well as 16 Carriages. That was the other one that she dropped actually in the Grammy time frame as well. So pretty impressive.
Yes.
But now the interesting thing about it is what a lot of people don't realize, there's a lot of black men and female who have been in country music for decades.
Really?
And they really haven't been acknowledged. So, I mean, it's been kind of like, you know how they say that people...
Johnny Mathis?
Johnny Mathis is actually recognized as really kind of the very first one in coming off into, like, mainstream. Mm-hmm. So, and that was 1960. So, and I found that very
Charlie Pride?
Charlie Pride was a little bit of a country as Western.
Okay.
You know, he obviously
I'm just trying to go through my head.
Well, I mean, it's around your generation, so that makes sense. Yeah. Now, but anyhow, most people have actually labeled it as a country western, you know, and some of it is and some of it isn't. It obviously has a lot of elements that's R&B, it's got some pop, it's got some, you know, hip hop, it's got some blues, it's got some soul, it's got some folk music, and this is actually, I think it's our 8th or 9th studio album, so it's pretty impressive. This is 27 tracks on there.
I might go see that show.
What's that?
I might go see that show. Beyonce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time she was here was at Jerry World.
Why not? Why not? Let's go.
Well, I mean, we've been to her.
I've seen this.
You know,
I've seen big shows.
She puts on a good act. There's no doubt about it. Even though there's just 27 tracks, and I say only 27 tracks, typically you got like an album that does 15.
Yeah, but is she going to get into the audience and take a shot of whiskey like Kelly Clarkson does?
Probably not.
Kelly's a little bit different and all that. Let me just tell you something. Kelly's a Texas girl, you know, even though Beyonce's from Houston.
I was going to say Beyonce's a Texas girl,
but
too.
Yeah, but she ain't a real country girl. But, I mean, she's really making an honest effort on this one, too.
You saying she's never read a cowboy before? Wink, wink.
Prior to Jay-Z, I don't know. You know, I'm going to leave that to her. But as I was saying,
we could vote on it.
27 singles on this particular album. Obviously, there's a couple that are kind of like takeoff of DJs with a couple of the actual feature artists on there, which I'll talk about here in a second. But she actually recorded over 100 individual singles for this album, different ones. And I don't know how she came up to the 27 that she ended up going with. Some of them were some remake covers and all that we'll talk about. But, I mean, that's pretty impressive to really kind of go out there and do over 100 different type of recordings for one particular album. This is an album that's been 5 years in the making, and it's obviously part of the trilogy that she has out there. Renaissance was the first one, and now we're walking into the Cowboy Carter, and we'll have to see what the third one is, and hopefully we don't have to wait another 5 years for that one in particular. This really is a kind of a tribute to the black country and western musicians out there. Really those individuals who've actually paved the way, not just for the other black actor musicians and things of that sort, but for the music in of itself, and where the music really came from. This particular album, I mean, Renaissance, she taught us a lesson. And that was really about, world-building homage to the actual black queer youth who actually created the house music. Cowboy Carter continues the lesson plan with an inspiration from the backlash when she tried to enter into the country music genre before. And this was in 2016. And she got a tremendous amount of backlash from country western music radio stations as well as predominantly white audiences. She actually did a performance on CMA. I forget who she did it with, but the backlash and the racism that she got from it was actually extraordinary, which is kind of sad. I think that, when we talk about woke and we talk about, critical race theory and things of that sort that everybody's talking about in schools, let's go back in history and let's really talk about where country music came from and actually who's co-opted. White Americans have. Let's just be honest with you. And there's some great books out there. I'm currently doing. I'm not much of a book reader. I'm a news reader. I'm a document reader. I'm not really a book reader, so I'm actually doing an audio one.
I'm a book reader now. Ever since YouPorn just got off, so now I'm reading all the books.
Well, that's a magazine reader.
I'm reading all the books now. What do you want to read next? I got nothing to do with my other hand.
I think that's probably a magazine read, not so much a book read. So you probably don't actually have hundreds of pages out there. But what I do want to say is the book that I'm currently audio listening to is called Black Country Music. And it's about 7 or 8 hours actually full. And it really talks about the historical perspective of blacks involved in the country music. So if you don't like reading books, like I don't, this is definitely something to read out there. It's really kind of critically acclaimed book as well. So it's definitely something to read out there and listen to as well. So, I mean, definitely something to do that. Since this album has come out, and specifically with the individuals that she's got on the album, and she has a lot of, some legends, but she also has a lot of these, kind of less known black artists on there. And I want to mention some percentages. Rihanna Roberts, she's a black artist, 250% increase in listening of her albums. Rizzy Palmer, 110% listening. Tanner Adele, 188%. K. Michelle, 185%. Linda Martell, she is dubbed the first commercially successful black female artist by Billboard, has experienced a 275% increase in her streams. This is a woman who has been forgotten. And when Beyoncé reached out to her to bring her onto this album, I think it was like either North or South Carolina where she's living. She was a bus driver for schools, and she had, here she is by Billboard being claimed the first black female artist out there and country artist.
Well, I can't say I forgot because I didn't even know.
Yeah, and that's okay. Totally understandable, But I do suggest you listen to her song on this album, because actually Linda is on this particular album. So I'm quite impressed. Now let's talk about some of the other kind of like featured individuals on there. We've obviously talked about Tanner and Brittany and Tiara and Rihanna. Willie Nelson is on the album.
He's still alive?
Well, he is kicking 90 plus something. He is still out there.
I don't want to live that long.
He's smoking weed and enjoying life.
Only if you're active.
Dolly Parton does a duet on here as well, and interesting enough, about 2 years ago, Dolly had been on a interview. I think it was when we were in the midst of the pandemic, and she did with Trevor Noah. And she was just like, I am desperate to see Beyonce take Jolene and do her version of it. Just like Whitney did in regards to my, whatever that was for the Bodyguard movie. And naturally, it was a huge hit.
And I
I was going to say, you can't think of that song.
Well, I mean, I think of the Dolly Parton version. I don't necessarily, because I mean that was one of my mother's favorites. So, but I mean, the interesting thing about it is, and this is kind of a digressed story, specifically on the Whitney kind of like taking it to the next level, is the very first royalty check that Dolly Parton got from that, which was astronomical. Just incredibly. She ended up buying a tremendous amount of storefronts and just basically, different areas of a predominantly black area in Tennessee. And she kept the rent the same. She didn't jack the rent up. She didn't bulldoze it and put up condos or anything like that. She didn't actually, generate it or regeneration or whatever they did. For 20 years, nobody knew that she was the owner. And she did that purposely. She was asked about it at one point, and she goes, I just did what Whitney thought I probably should do with that first royalty check. Now, I'm pretty sure that she spent the other royalty checks afterwards on something different. So, but I would be very, really surprised because...
I think Dolly has a lot of money. She even has Dollywood.
She's up to $775 million is what the last count was, so she has plenty.
Yes.
She has plenty. And I think she's building another theme park as well. So, but she does these little things like the free books that she does through all the mountains of Tennessee for the poor children and things of that sort. And she basically creates these little outlets that they can actually go there and get free books.
I mean, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee owes everything to Dolly because bringing Dollywood there, it's all commercial and all that stuff is. And my brother and sister-in-law and family's going to go there this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember talking about that one. Beyonce has Beyonce-eyed Jolene. And she's changed some words up, and it's a pretty catchy word. I mean, I like Jolene in the first place, and, but I think that Dolly Parton's going to like this version.
Well, do we know yet?
She wanted her to do her version no matter what it was. She's just like, I want her to Beyonce it because I love her music. I know her techniques. I'm going to just absolutely love it. Alex, if you can just play a little bit louder on some of that actual out of that one. Now, there is actually, some curse words in this one.
And?
I love it. I mean... I can see those royalty checks racking up already.
Oh, yeah.
Dolly's
going to make a fortune.
Just for the actual Texas Hold'em when she released that, I think it was like 63 million downloads. Happened within that short period of time when it was initially announced. So you can imagine, especially when you've got somebody of a legend caliber of Dolly and then Beyonce. I mean, and this was sanctioned by Dolly. She wanted to do it, and she's actually on the record for doing it. In addition, we've got a fantastic duo with Miley Cyrus and Beyonce on this album. I mean, I'm always been a fan of Miley Cyrus.
I closetly love Miley Cyrus.
I don't closet. I'm all out about her. I mean, I think that
okay.
Party in the USA is my favorite song.
She will go down as one of the best unique voices of the time. She really will. Just the tone of her voice, the adaptability of her voice. And let me just tell you something. If you haven't heard it yet, you need to go out there and listen to that actual duet between them. The harmony between them two, it's just priceless. It is so in sync, it's incredible. It really is. So that's definitely one of my other favorite ones on there. In addition, also that we've got John Baptiste. If everybody who knows who John Baptiste is, he's actually he's really coming into his own in regards to his own kind of like albums and his own recognition. But for the longest time, he was on James Corden's talk show, and he was actually the band leader and things of that sort. Stevie Wonder's on this album. Wow. I mean, and Stevie Wonder has ventured in the country and western before. So,
yes.
I mean, it's bottom line is there's some phenomenal, lyrical as well as some singing talent out there. On the technical side, she also has added DA Got That Dope, Ryan Tedder, and Pharrell Williams. Pharrell Williams is obviously an incredible producer out there. And I think he's also now the creative director of like Louis Vuitton, something crazy like that. But I mean, I just think it's actually pretty incredible album. Now there is a couple on there that I'm not a big fan of. I'm not.
That's every album,
and I can't quite tell you exactly why I'm not. Maybe it's just a little slow. It's just not like the right beat for me. I mean, I do have a love-hate relationship with country and western in itself. So, but I will definitely say that I'm enjoying this album.
Cool.
I'm definitely enjoying this album. Actually, I just remembered. It was the actual Chicks that she actually did the actual performance on CMA in 2016 and got all that kickback. Now, again, the Chicks obviously have their own history, specifically with the extreme conservatives as well. I mean, because they called out George W. Bush on stage and really got booed and things of that sort, and then really had to change it from Dixie Chicks to Chicks. So, anyhow. But if you haven't listened to it, you definitely want to go out there and listen to it. It's paying homage to some black artists out there that are really kind of been overlooked for too long. And also, if you have an opportunity to listen or even read that book that I definitely suggested, please do so, because let me just tell you something. It's about time we kind of look at our true history of what our history is with the country. Instead of actually, what do they call it? Rewriting history. Let's actually really go into our history. Let's be honest.
History.
Let's be honest. Well, let's just be honest about our history. Because I feel that we as a country, we as a human race, can only get better by knowing our history and learning from our history in hopes that we don't do it again. Mm-hmm. Especially the negative stuff. There's a lot out there we can talk about.
But if you hide all that stuff, nobody will ever know.
Yeah, I mean, it's about damn time that these extremists stop writing and erasing the fucking history in our books for these kids to learn. Let's learn the history and make sure that they're the better people in the next generation. So, but again, love this album. You really need to go out there and listen to it. If you haven't already, start downloading. I've downloaded it. So I've already drank the Kool-Aid. So, but anyhow, but there you go. I love Beyonce. I love the country and western genre that she's jumping into. And I know, Mike, you want to jump into some sports, especially for March Madness and your disastrous brackets.
Well, but first I got to ask is, what's the time now?
17 is what I got.
Okay, because 17. Everybody out there, we're trying to keep this within a 30-minute time frame.
Well, let's be honest. They're just trying to keep my mouth shut.
Rick just said he could do his opening within about 10, 12 minutes. And
I said 15.
He went over. So
now,
I've got.
Now, in fairness,
you're taking my time, so just be quiet.
But in fairness, I've always said that I would keep it through like a 15, 20-minute time frame, and then I go 40 minutes.
That's a damn good one.
Yeah. All right. So the rest of this time is going to be on sports. I got a lot to talk about, and so I'm going to try to do it as fast. I'll do it in our time frame. First, the bad news of the sports. But the rest of it's all good. But the first part is NCAA tournament where everybody does their brackets. I'm in the pool I'm in last place. This is the worst I've ever done because I'm always competing up there. But this bracket and everything else is just sucked. Rick's in the same one, and he had a shot of winning it
until last night.
Sunday, and then now he's out of it, and so he's one step ahead of me. So that's the
worst.
But
just for the record, I'm actually beating him.
You are, and you will because all my teams are out now or stuff like that.
Actually, I'm beating your brother too.
So who was it? Like I bet on Clemson, and I won that game on the Sweet 16.
I'm beating your brother too now.
I only lost 3.
Yeah, Kara made almost $300.
Well, I mean, but look at this: is you got the four teams in the Final Four. You got UConn, that's the defending champs. Mm-hmm. They're playing Alabama, which was a 4th seed. Never been to the Final Four before. And then on the other bracket, you've got Purdue. The last time they were in the Final Four was 1980.
Right.
And then NC State, which I want to talk about real briefly, is the last time they were in the Final Four was in 1983, and that's when they beat Houston in the finals.
Mm-hmm. And
I mean, talking about North Carolina's 11th seed, this team shouldn't have been in the NCAA. They were 17-4 at the end of the regular season. They were the 10th seed in the ACC tournament. They won 5 games to win the tournament, and now they've won 4 in a row. So they've actually won 9 games in a row to get where they are right now. And if you watched the game last night between Duke and NC State, there's this player on NC State, and he's a big guy. His name is DJ Burns Jr. I mean, he is just fun to watch. He scored 29 points. It was just unbelievable. But
that's like pro level,
huh?
That's like pro level.
Well, but you get that in some of that. But Alex, you said you had some things you wanted to say about the NCAA
well,
tournament.
so I as some may or may not know, so we run a small startup company, we have team members, right? So what we did for them was we gave $20 to every single game that was playing on the Sweet 16. So each person had $20 to put on, Clemson versus whoever, Alabama versus whatever, and everyone made money. So that was really great. So Kara, how much you said you made?
I made $225.
Not only that, so then
that's at least 2 nights of drinking.
Or
lunch.
Sometimes it's
it depends on how many. I mean, I'm just thinking myself,
it's a hard lunch. So I had Clemson, I won that. I had UConn, but I lost UNC, Iowa State, Marquette. I lost Houston. Houston was actually the one I wanted to win, U of H.
Well,
that's where my sister was.
I bet against them.
My two, I had Iowa State and I had Houston in the Final Four.
Yeah,
and both those teams just created. Houston had a shot to be there.
Well, if I remember correctly, this was a podcast, a couple of podcasts ago. What you both said is like, I love the upsets. I love the upsets.
Yeah. Well, Tennessee was an upset. I bet on that. I won that game. Generally speaking, Clemson was an upset.
Yeah, it was. They were.
Dude, $20 $170. I mean,
wow.
Had I put 100, which is what I normally do, I would have won like $250.
So, I mean, for me right now, with the 4 remaining teams, I want NC State. I mean, they're their 11th seed. 11th seed has never won it. Matter of fact, 11th seed is I think there's been 5 or 6 11 seeds that made it to the Final Four. Just because also NC State.
You like hold on, something like that?
Well, I'm just
doing it.
Don't even call. He was, remember that one episode? He like unscrewed
it.
Yeah, but I don't need to hold it like he's holding.
Oh my gosh.
But NC State in the first round beat my alma mater, Texas Tech. We were the 6th seed, and I was just oh shit.
Yeah.
And then but NC State is. I mean, that's the key is on sports when your team is on a roll and you get a roll at the right time, and NC State is on that roll.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking to me about that earlier on about how they almost didn't even make it to the actual tournament.
I mean, you're talking 17 and 14 before the tournament. The only way they're going to make the tournament is to win the ACC, and you're the 10th seed.
And they did it.
What a great game, though. Yeah. The Tennessee-Purdue game was awesome. Kara picked Purdue.
And that game right there killed Rick because Rick needed Tennessee to make it to the Final Four.
She was also the only person on the team during the Sweet 16 to pick Alabama.
Yep.
Which one?
Wow.
So that was a good game for her as well. She actually won the whole out of the team members, and she has the least interest in NCAA.
I don't watch sports.
She didn't even watch the games.
Trust me, I didn't analyze the brackets. I just picked President Biden's bracket.
Well, see, the thing is...
so I'm going to blame him for losing.
With me, every time, I just... this one sounds good. Or, I know this team. I've heard of this school before.
Color.
Yeah, but you see, I don't have that much patience to actually physically go through every single... I just hit one button. He was still going through his, and I was already done like 10 minutes.
No, mine didn't take very long. I think he was like, take a screenshot. And I was like, okay, 10 seconds later, here are my bets.
But this year on the men's, there hasn't been that much, or it seems like that much excitement.
I've heard there's more hype on the women's side right now.
That's what I've heard too, is because there's not one team.
I mean, we can always talk about the controversy with the head coach of the LSU, the women's coach.
Oh, well, okay. Well, speaking of that, tonight, later tonight, from when we're broadcasting this is LSU and Iowa are playing tonight in the Elite Eight. The winner goes to the Final Four, and that was the 2 teams that played for the championship last year where LSU won.
Gotcha.
And LSU has the coach that is
Fireball.
That's got the controversy following her. I think she's won 3 national championships.
2. One with LSU and 2 at Baylor.
I think 2 at Baylor and 1 at LSU.
Yeah. But, I mean, her outfits alone it tells you she's on fire. I mean, nobody in their right mind should be wearing that stuff, but she carries it off, and she carries it off proudly.
So we got the Final Four in the men's. The women are going to be decided tonight. I'm going for the men. I'm going for NC State, and actually NC State I think is in the Final Four on the women. I think if they win tonight, they're in the Final Four. So and they weren't a high seed on that one either. So this might be the year of NC State or whatever.
Michael, can we still be friends if I say I'm going for Purdue?
I don't care.
He's already out. So
the only reason why I'm for NC State is they're their 11th seed. I mean,
well, they didn't have a chance.
A long shot. And then plus you got that one player that's out there that's, I mean, if you saw him, he is big and all this other stuff is. And he just hit.
He's going to be defense when it comes to Tim NFL.
On all that stuff is. So hope everybody's got your brackets going. Hope you're winning or whatever, but let's go NC State.
A little bit of thing on college, though, real quick before we kind of head on to your. I know you want to talk about the Mavs and Stars particularly.
We're already at 25 minutes. How much more time we get?
It takes 2 seconds to do this. Did you hear the April Fool's joke out there today?
No.
About TCU?
No.
Changing their mascot?
No.
To a squirrel. I mean, it literally. They went out there. Whether it's Chancellor Dean or I don't know what he was. He literally went out there and did a video, posted on all the social media, and everybody was believing it. Even I looked like, there's no. Who the hell would do a squirrel? I just thought it was the funniest thing ever, for sure.
Was there a nut?
Probably there was a nut. And the last thing that I want to talk about real quick, and before you get into that, no, this is you and I talked about this yesterday. Is a rugby player who's actually left, a Welsh rugby player who's left rugby in the UK and has came to the United States to do the NFL camp and all that to try to actually make it in NFL. Again, not a big familiar of the rules and regs specifically with the NFL, and had a lot to learn. And he had that disadvantage, but his father had played the NFL years ago, so he really kind of wanted to make that kind of experience, And
you just thought he was good looking.
Luce Reese Zammit, and he just signed with the KC Chiefs, which you couldn't sign with a better team.
Super Bowl champs.
He ran the I think it was the 40-yard in like 4.3 seconds yesterday. The boy can run. The boy can run. So let's just put it out there. Let's keep an eye on this one here. That we're going to have somebody from the British Isles is going to actually make it a real big time in the NFL. So,
all right. Anything else?
Nope.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Until I start talking, then you'll come up with something else or whatever.
Well, that's what the fucking banter's for.
Okay.
Just keep it under 30 minutes.
All right.
It's all right.
Well, it's in the title.
I'm trying to do my time, and he keeps interrupting me. Okay, everybody knows I've got season tickets to the Mavs and Stars.
Do you have to say that every time?
Yes, he does.
Because we get new viewers. They don't know that. You hear it all the time, but any of our new viewers, we're getting thousands of viewers every week or whatever, so they don't know all this stuff. So I got to keep them informed.
I'd like to see more thousands, but we're getting there.
I'm going to make you a sign just to put in front of you that says
I have season tickets.
See, y'all are all taking my time now because when I got this,
didn't. He did.
All right. So both the Mavs and the Stars, both of them are both on a 7-game winning streak. For the Mavs, 7 in a row. They are now 5th place. They only have 7 games left. And ultimately, you want to be in the top 6 in the NFL to make the playoffs. So it's looking good for the Mavs. They're 45-29, but on a 7-game winning streak. Last night they just beat Houston, and Houston was on 11-game winning streak. The Stars are also on the 7-game. They're first in the division. 7 games left. They are 2nd place right now, 1 point from the President's Trophy. And the President's Trophy is the most points in the NHL. So they're on a roll. So both teams are on a roll right now. There are 8 games left in the season. They need to keep on the roll so they get a good playoff. So then because the playoffs start mid-April.
How many games we have left?
I told you, Mavs have 8 games left.
I was trying to get it on the air.
I know.
You told me outside.
He's like, we talked about this.
No, he literally just said it. 7 games
I did.
left.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
See?
All right.
That is my problem.
She's the most dangerous person in the room. She's the one who's listening to everything.
She listens to what I have to say. The others
she listens to everything we're saying.
The others don't listen to me, and they just go. They're on their computers.
Yeah, if you just look at them sometimes.
Oh, please! You ragged on Beyoncé for 20 minutes.
17.
Well, 17 rounds to 20 or whatever.
It's Queen Bee.
Oh, yeah.
Queen Bee.
Wow. So, all right, I got one more item that I need to bring up, and it's not official yet, but you've heard me before talk about Forney softball. My brother's coaches a softball team, and
I'm excited.
They've been ranked for the last 3 weeks, number 2 in the state for 5A. Well, the rankings are going to come out tomorrow. I was hoping they were going to come out today so I could make the announcement right now, but I was told it was going to come out tomorrow. But the first place team, Melissa, and the second and the third place team, Barber Hill, they both lost this past week. So when the next rankings come out, Forney should be the number one team in the state for 5A.
And the last time that happened was what 2018?
No, it had been 2020 because they were ranked number one in the state when the pandemic hit, and they were the odds-on favorite to win it. But then it closed down high school sports or whatever.
But he won the 2018.
He won. They won the championship in 2018.
I see it. I see it in the cards.
And they made it to state in 2019.
I cannot wait to be at some of those games with your brother.
Yes,
I really can't.
Go Forney.
Yes, definitely go Forney. Go Pat.
Now, see, I get my information done quickly. It gets drawn out only when people keep interrupting me.
We're at 16 minutes, just so you know.
Well, yeah, how many times did y'all interrupt me?
That's the fucking banter. It's in the name of the podcast, dude. I mean, that's what I do at the pub when we're in there.
If I bantered you as much as you do me during
do you really want to talk about how much? Do you really want to talk about how much you banter back and forth? You are constantly interrupting my shit all the time when we're at the pub drinking. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Well, everybody, we're keeping a little bit over 30 minutes, but thank you very much for joining us for another podcast episode of Buddies, Booze, Banters, Unfiltered Conversations. I am Rick.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Alex.
Bye-bye.
Go Mavs, Stars, NC State, Forney.
Purdue.
Alabama.